You're on.
All right, everybody, welcome into the Dynamo pregame show here. YouTube Soccer Matters, and we're excited that you're joining us here. Look, we're going to keep doing this on home games. If we get enough interest in this, we'll do it on away games maybe eventually as well. We will have a post-game tonight as well. So let's get into it. I want to get into this right away because, you know, I know for some people this is important. Copa Tejas, Texas rivalry match. So Texas Derby, all of that. But I think most importantly here today, it's two teams coming into this that have really had a hard time creating chances. Yet the Houston Dynamo come into this with a very, very good record at 4-2-3, 4-2-1, third in the West. Austin FC coming in at 2-3-3. Now for the Houston Dynamo, I don't think you could ask for anything better result-wise in the absence of two DPs in Hector Herrera and Sebas Ferreira. So I think from that standpoint, the Dynamo sit in a very good position here with those two players getting healthy here today. Now, Austin FC, on the other hand, it's been a pretty up and down season. They had 2 wins in a row. They were going for 3. They've not been a good road team. I think there are some real questions around them. They're 0-2-1 on the road, and they've conceded 13 goals. Now, both these teams today, and we're going to get into the lineups right now, both these teams today have had a lot of revolving door with their back four. So let's start off with the visitors. I know somebody on here has already, Noah the Nerd is already stoking the fires here, calls Austin Broccoli FC. Noah, okay. How we feeling for this game? Edson Ochoa, our good friend, seems dry in Houston for now. Yeah, there is some weather around, some dark clouds, but I think hopefully we can get through without any kind of delays here today. All right, so let's start with Austin FC. Brad Stuver obviously starting in goal. Julio Cascante is out. He's going to be replaced by Matt Hedges. Brendan Hines-Ike, who they acquired in the offseason. John Gallagher. Gallagher last year had a number of goals from the outside back position. If you remember, he was a striker that was converted to an outside back who played at Notre Dame. Guillermo Biro. It's not Guillermo. It is, because we're going to get this correct from the start, it is Guilherme Biro. Outside back, Brazilian. He's got 2 goals. Pereira, Ring, Keys in midfield, really. I mean, those are the 2 guys that are going to try to build the game. I think the Dynamo have to get around them, disrupt them, because their target's going to be Sebastian Driussi, who 2022, I mean, I'm sorry, he was the best player in the league for me. He was unbelievable. That was one of the most unbelievable seasons ever put together. We'll see if Sebastian Driussi is involved here today. They did not get him involved in their 1-0 loss to St. Louis.
Not at all.
And then they get verticality with Hader O'Brien coming from FC Dallas. Now, the other day I was watching one of the broadcasts, and they were talking about how fast people were running, and that's great. And, you know, I didn't know if we were checking out how fast thoroughbreds could run. It's great if you can run, but you still have to produce numbers and goals and assists and things. So I find it kind of strange because that's, yes, we all know O'Brien has pace. So he's their vertical threat. And then you got Ethan Finley, the veteran's going to get a start today. And then Diego Rubio. Rubio's one of these guys that, you know, you look at and you go, well, you know, he's got talent. He's a little bit of a... a center forward that can play a bit with his back to goal as well. He's a guy that doesn't produce big numbers, but I think he's one of those guys that, you know, a lot of coaches in MLS will look at and say, if I bring him here, yeah, my system's going to be thing that will help him realize his potential. He's going to perform better under me. And that's the ego of a coach, and that's okay. But I think he's been bounced around to a number of teams. Good player, though. Colorado, Sporting Kansas City. All right, so that's the starting 11 for Austin FC. I think they're going to be pretty pragmatic. I think they have to be very careful. If they get too opened up here, you know, they're open to get hit in transition. I think they've given up 10 goals in the run of play. 6 of them have come in transitional moments. You could kind of say that was a transitional moment that cost you in St. Louis. Houston Dynamo, Steve Clark. I mean, literally won them the game the last game. Let's be honest. Steve Clark played off the chains in that game. He made 3 or 4 spectacular, eye-popping saves. So you talk about goalkeepers at MLS, and you say at the end of the year you want them to earn you 12 points in some form or fashion, right? Maybe 9 to 12 points. He earned the Dynamo points that night. The Dynamo had 2 shots on goal, by the way. Sebastian Kowalczyk had both of them, and he scored an unbelievable first-ever MLS goal to win that game. We had him on Soccer Matters this week. It's a great interview. I just wish more people would pick this interview up. Well, actually, he had a couple thousand looks.
Yeah.
But you learn a lot about these guys in these interviews, and he's quite the character. Justin.
Be sure to, guys, I should have said in the beginning of the show, be sure to go ahead and like, subscribe, follow the channel. You'll get all the updates when Glenn goes live on any of his Soccer Matters stuff, whenever he posts any of the videos from the show, any interviews. He does do bonus interviews as well. Those are also uploaded. Guillermo does a great job with those back at ESPN. But, again, please like the show, guys. Subscribe.
Yeah, it's only one click. You don't have to go through a whole thing. And we really need the clicks, the hits, the likes, and I'll use this as a little bit of shameful promotion. But, this is how you keep this stuff on the air. It's not easy. Haven't had a radio show on for 22 years. And, I think most people don't know. But, they think I'm an employee of the station. I'm not. I buy the time, and that's how soccer gets on. So without your support, it doesn't happen. Without the sponsors, it doesn't happen. Okay.
I do want to say, Cam, welcome to the Dynamo pregame show. He is Austin FC supporter.
Austin, Cam,
yes.
Thank you so much for tuning
Appreciate
in.
it.
Just met with the guys from the Verde Dependent outside, so we got a good thing going here. All right, Ethan Bartlow, excellent game in the last game. A lot of blocks, got in front of shots. You've got Mikael making his way back into the lineup, so those are your 2 center backs. You will have Daniel Steres at the left back position now. He's going to be on the side of the field of O'Brien throughout this game. That's a matchup you got to watch. Expect Daniel Steres, who's really a center back and has been kind of a Swiss Army knife for the Houston Dynamo. He'll sit in the left back position. He's not going to try to join in too much tonight. And then, of course, Griffin Dorsey on the right-hand side, which, you're going to get the effort. He's going to go box to box. But I think at this point of the season, after, 7 games, you want more end product from Griffin Dorsey. You want better delivery. You want a little bit more refinement there, which we did see last year. And that'll be something to keep an eye on tonight. Artur's in the 6. Then you've got, I'm guessing that Coco Carrasquilla will be next to Artur. And then you got Latif Blessing in midfield as well, one of the recent acquisitions. You got Aliou out on the left. He brings your verticality, so he's your kind of foil to O'Brien of FC Dallas. And then you got up front, you got Bassi and Kowalczyk. Now, this is going to be interesting because these are both guys playing kind of as false nines. They'll sometimes switch on and off. They're not going to back in and provide depth against the center back, which is interesting because being a former center back, when you have that type of player, you are always tested mentally. Do you go with him or do you stay and hold your line in your position? If you don't go with him sometimes and you don't get help from your 6, these guys can pick a ball up and turn. So this is what Ben Olsen's going with again here tonight. It's a little bit different and unique. You don't have a center forward, technically. You do have 2 on the bench. So believe it or not, Ben Olsen is going with 2 false 9s over Gabe Siegel, who was brought in as a striker, and Sebastian Ferreira. I think the Ferreira thing is more that they don't want to rush him back now. He's had 2 injuries so far. And Ben Olsen in the press conference said, he's our number 9. He's our guy. He's our number 9 when they bring him back. So I think with Hector Herrera on the bench, that's going to be a nice sign to the Dynamo fans. Whether these 2 guys play or not, Ben Olsen mentioned it's going to come down to the situation, how they feel about bringing them in a game. 2 guys coming off injury, if it starts raining down like crazy, you may not risk him under wet conditions. So we'll see how that all pulls out. You got Brooklyn Rains, Kieran Sargent, Tate Schmidt, Jan Gregush, Gabe Siegel, Hector Herrera, Andrew Tarbell, Sebastian Ferrer, and Brad Smith. Anybody got any questions? Once we see HH on the field more frequently, we'll see a much better Dorsey. Well, Kenneth, I would say you'll see a much better everybody, including the commentator. With Hector's around, I think everybody gets better and everybody improves.
I will give the real quick injury update. You have Eric Shevchenko,
Sviatchenko.
Is out with a hamstring. Nelson Karen is, as we all know, is out for the year with a knee injury. Franco Escobar, questionable lower body, and we do know Ferreira and Herrera are both going to be on the bench. You do have Owen Wolf. He's out with an ankle injury. And then Julio Cascante will be missing this match due to yellow card accumulation.
Yeah, they got a thin bench.
Yes.
Owen Wolf's out. Leo Väisänen is not ready to go, another center back. So Matt Hedges is coming in for him, as we mentioned. So
they only have 7 on the bench tonight.
Yeah. Johan Valencia, who was originally bought in to be their holding midfielder until Danny Pereira a couple years ago out of the college game jumped above him. Emilio Rigoni has been kind of maligned. He's a DP that really hasn't realized his potential. You got Jazzy Zardes, center forward, Hector Jimenez, a defender. CJ Fadre comes up from Austin, too. John McComanic has come back now off of injury, and then the backup goalkeeper, Stephen Cleveland. So that's what they have going on. Any thoughts, any questions from you, Justin? Or any of you out there who's tuning in here?
I guess we had talked about this, even though it's a pretty easy one. What would you expect from Hector Herrera tonight should he make an appearance?
Not a lot, just to ease him back into it. I mean, that could be the world's worst question ever on Soccer Matters here on YouTube. What do you want me to say? He's going to come in and score a hat trick? No, I think you have to be very, very careful. Again, there's a lot of mystery around what the knee injury was. It's really hard to tell, but I think in some ways, based on what he put in last year, I mean, he played a lot of minutes last year. He was MLS Best 11 and an All-Star. Yeah. I think in some ways, this may be a good thing for Hector Herrera, and I said this in the beginning, that he misses a part of this season. He comes back on his terms as the Dynamo continue to get results.
Real quick, Kenneth asked if there was any Dynamo players approaching yellow card accumulation. When I looked this morning, there was none. So that's
glad you
good
did
news.
that. I'm glad you did that because I've had to look that up.
The
other thing I wanted to mention too to people is 2 new signings. Jefferson Valverde comes from LDU Quito. He's a holding midfielder type. You had heard that one before. I think there was a lot of red tape the Dynamo had to navigate and get through. So there's some depth in midfield. And then you also picked up Mackenzie Gaines. Now, Mackenzie Gaines has played for Austin FC. It's a short-term contract for the rest of the year. Then he's a free agent. He grew up in Austin, spent 4 years in Germany, lower divisions, and then bounced around a couple of teams in MLS, including Austin FC, Charlotte, and then recently Nashville. So he's a guy that brings verticality, very good athlete, and he's kind of a native Texan.
We have a few more minutes here. How do the Dynamo tactically shut down Driussi?
It's a collective effort always with Driussi. If things occur like they did in St. Louis, he didn't get on the ball much, only 29 times, and they didn't have a shot on goal, which is, I mean, to me that's kind of mind-blowing that you don't get a shot on goal on the road. I think between the two teams, not even sure they had a shot, did they? They may have had 1 or 2 shots. I mean, these two teams had a combined like 3 or 4 shots in 180 minutes of soccer. So it's not exactly flowing from an attacking standpoint. Now, Josh Wolf did say, look, we were 1 pass away from it, 1 good decision away from it, execution, okay. But lots of teams can say that after every game. The Dynamo did not. This was a valiant effort defensively. This was a goalkeeper making saves. You got an own goal, and then you got a moment of brilliance in transition where Kowalczyk got isolated, who's very quick against a big, tall center back, slipped it through his legs and hit a wonder finish. I mean, it was spectacular. And look, sometimes you got to win games like this. I think in Houston, fans would love to see the Dynamo score more goals, a few more multi-goal games. That said, last year, look, it was a grind-em-out team. Your leading goal scorer, from the run of play was probably Corey Baird. He's no longer here. And you were 1 game away from getting into the MLS Cup. So maybe it's time for me to be quiet and say, oh, okay, we don't need any more attacking talent. But I'll tell you what, in my opinion, nobody wins MLS Cups without a legit goal scorer. Cucho, Chicho, Vela. These are the teams that are winning MLS Cups, and they do it with a dominant forward. So the last time I think anybody ground out and grinded out winning an MLS Cup, you got to go all the way back to maybe, I think, Colorado, that Gary Smith team, and he plays the same way in Nashville. It's kind of a deep defending, counterattacking team.
looks here, we've got about 18 minutes till kickoff, so say about another 5 minutes on air.
Yeah. What else you guys got out there?
What do you make of the whole Rigoni situation?
Just a miss on a DP. I think that happens. I mean, they hit a home run with Driussi. Rigoni, there's no doubt he's talented, but, you know, it's just bizarre. Like, I see him in a game against St. Louis, and he's under no